Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1534. We choose morsels of a thought of wisdom to bring to you every morning to inspire you to have a great day. And the best thing I can give you today is Listen, Learn, Love by Susie Albert Miller, forward by Jeff and Beth McCord, publishers, weekly best-selling authors of Becoming Us. The title of this book is Listen, Learn, Love: How to Dramatically Improve Your Relationships in 30 Days or Less. And it is currently 5:10 a.m. in California. Most of my friends are not awake, but I love to be here at this time so I can reach more of you around the world. So I say good day, everybody. And I really mean good morning to people like John Clark and Susie Albert Miller. I'm not sure which time zone you're in. I think you're in, well, anyway, you're in a time zone where I'm thinking that maybe you can see this in the morning, right, live. And there are people who are coming by later. I can't forget Odette Minders. I want to say something about your last name because it sounds a lot like Minders. And there is a Chinese last name that is spelled Guan, which actually means the same thing. Guan means to mind other people. Isn't that great? So if you ever decide you want to choose a Chinese name, you can use that for your last name if you feel like it, because anybody in China reading that will say, oh, okay, that person's last name is to mind others. Aha. So, Odette Minders, good morning. A big hello to you. And I will start and proceed with the deeper yes in chapter, 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 flipping, chapter 5, the deeper yes. It is, there is a time for risky love. There is a time for extravagant gestures. There is a time to pour out your affections on the one you love. And when the time comes, seize it. Don't miss it. And that's by Max Lucado, Lucado. It's a great quote. We've been on page 99. And I would like to read the previous paragraph before we start in. And I'm going to grab that quote that came in on another page in the same chapter by Ernest Hemingway. When you love, you wish to do things for. You wish to sacrifice for. You wish to serve. See? So, like, I love this show. I love Morsels of a Thought. I love to try to serve you guys with a good day of Morsels of a Thought. So, anyway, 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 the big picture skill starts with the previous paragraph says, that's Susie Albert Miller. With my coaching and consulting clients, love well sometimes looks like tough love or saying hard things rather than easy and more palatable ones. Do my clients respond with thanks for saying that? Rarely, but they know I am for them and willing to incur their anger or handle their pushback for the purpose of their growth. This builds trust and deepens our connection. Can you see how love well is an essential skill to succeed in your professional relationships? Mhm. The big picture skill. Big picture hyphenated. Anytime we choose to put the needs and interests of someone else above our own, we are loving well. This is a big picture skill, and I'm in this for the long haul relationship posture. Loving well isn't easy. It doesn't come naturally, but it is a valuable skill, an intentional choice that will significantly impact the quality of our relationships. Victor Hugo says, what a grand thing to be loved. What a grander thing still to love. I'll read that again. What a grand thing to be loved. What a grander thing still to love, by Victor Hugo. I don't know if his name was pronounced Hugo or something else. Anyway, Victor Hugo, famous guy. Picture yourself as the wife whose husband chose to skip watching the game to put the kids to bed so you could enjoy an evening with your girlfriends. All after uncorking the wine, heating up the snacks, your hubby kissed you and said, "I've got this. Just pretend you don't hear us upstairs and have fun with your friends." Would that feel awesome? Would you feel loved well? And here's an example. During one of my events, one of the attendees, Elizabeth, left abruptly after receiving a call informing her that a dear friend's father had suddenly passed away. Elizabeth had invested time and money to be part of this training, and there was no guarantee that she would recoup it. But none of that mattered. Elizabeth's friend needed her. On a moment's notice, without hesitation, Elizabeth changed her plans, left the weekend event, and traveled home because she wanted to be there for her grieving friend. This is loving well. We did arrange for a refund and a reserved spot for her in the next one. That's very kind, very, very kind. Loving well, loving your clients well. Wouldn't it be comforting if, in the midst of a difficult time, a dear friend dropped everything to be with you? You need her, she is there. Tissues, stories, or silent support, depending on what is best for you in the moment. Would you feel loved well? What if you stood your ground the next time your teenager is frustrated with you because, well, because she is a teenager? Pick a reason. You refused to let her go to a party, you made her change an outfit you deemed inappropriate, you limited her cell phone use, censored a movie choice. She is mad because you said no. And in spite of a very loud barrage of, "You don't understand. It's not fair. You're a prude. I hate you. And I'm never doing this to my kids." There you are, still standing your ground. Picture that moment. Wouldn't it be amazing to feel confident in your parenting choices and gratified because you didn't need your kids to like or approve of your decisions? I want to tell you an example of when I was a little kid, what happened when an adult said no. Apparently, I ran from my mother when she was changing me. I was 2. I wasn't a teenager yet. No, no. I wasn't a teenager. I never had that situation, I don't think, because I had a very different kind of upbringing, being from, my parents were from another country, and there was no such thing as teenagerism in China at that time. At that time, I don't know about now, uh, with the internet. Anyway, so then I was naked and I ran through the house to my uncle and I smiled at him. Phew. He picked me up, put me across his lap, and for a man who never, ever, ever spanked me again, he went whack, whack. And then I ran off and my face was red with embarrassment. And I ran to my mother and I said, I got spanked by uncle. And she said, "That's because you ran out there without your clothes on." So I learned a lesson. There was one other time my uncle pretended to spank me. He picked me up and it was a pretend spank. He picked me up and very gently put me across his lap. And he went like this to my behind. And then he picked me back up and then he smiled at me like, "I hope you learned your lesson." I did learn my lesson. I was actually very humble at that moment when I remember that. But anyway, teenagers, picture that moment. Wouldn't it be amazing to feel confident in your parenting choices and gratified because you don't need your kids to like or approve of your decisions? After all, you aren't out to be their friend, you are their parent. You don't need them to like you. It would be nice, but not a necessity when it comes to good parenting or loving well. You choose to love well because you are willing to incur their wrath and stand your ground. Sure, you may need some reinforcement from your spouse, a good friend, your mom, or a large glass of wine, but hang in there because you did the right thing. I should show you the little glass I have. Was it hard? Yes, but does it feel good? Yes. Loving well feels great because ultimately it is the right thing to do. What if the next time you and your spouse ate in an ate glasses. What if the next time you and your spouse are in an argument, instead of retorting with sharp words of debate or a laundry list of things you do to anger or frustrate him, your spouse pauses? Silence. He looks at you and says, I'm sorry, you are right. I have been too busy and totally preoccupied with work. I have blown off my commitments to be home for dinner and have canceled our date nights. I have taken you for granted. Would you feel loved well? Would the whole tenor of the argument change? Maybe even turning it from an argument into a discussion as your defenses drop and together you talk about how it got to this point. Suddenly you aren't quite as mad and you're able to share your sadness and how much you miss him. Loving well changes conversations, people, and relationships. Since I'm not married, I don't have examples of that. But you do if you are married. And just think of it. Think of that moment when you say, I'm going to read those words again, just so in case you need them. I'm sorry. You're right. I have been too busy and totally preoccupied with work. I have blown off my commitments to be home for dinner and have canceled our date nights. I have taken you for granted. Now, if you're a married woman or a married man, that would help a lot. That would help a lot. Learning and practicing love well can dramatically improve your relationships, even if you are the only one making this choice. We are emotional beings and respond to people sacrificing on our behalf, so give it time. Don't give up. Keep loving well. Eventually, the tide will turn and you can enjoy learning and growing together. Loving well builds an unshakable foundation when practiced by both people in a relationship. I'm going to say something about Qigong because Qi energy is interactive. You need to have 2 points of interaction to have energy move. And this is a relationship. A relationship has two people in it, always. Or you can have a relationship with yourself, but it's always one side of yourself talking to another aspect of yourself. So it's always 2 points, two people. That's what I wanted to add in. It is the stuff long marriages are made of, where partners are connected and still enjoy each other 30 years later. I know a few people who are married 50 years and they're young. Kind of cool, huh? Having navigated the many stages of raising kids into productive adults who still like and respect you, it is also the stuff of long term friendships that endure through challenges, changes, and different life paths, of lasting business partnerships that weather economic storms, and of strong family relationships that sometimes are akin to riding a roller coaster. These are rich and valuable relationships because you have loved well and have been loved well. Relationships grow and thrive when we make the choice to love well because trust grows, defenses come down, and we become more authentic and transparent, causing our relationships to reach deeper levels. Every day, we have countless opportunities to love well. Practicing listen, learn, love. Number one, pick a relationship avatar. Think back on an interaction in which you just wanted to have your own way and you breezed or bulldozed over their needs. Reimagine the scene with you making the choice to love well. Decide if you want to address it with them in person. That's interesting that you practice it internally first, huh? Recall a recent number 2, recall a recent business exchange or client interaction that was more quid pro quo than go give. How would you handle it differently using skill number 3? Love well. Number 3, think about the days and weeks ahead. Ponder the potential interactions in your relationships. Try to envision and plan some conversations in which you can practice love well. Jot down a few notes for each one that comes to mind. Number 4, choose a love well tip to focus on in the coming month. Write it on a sticky note and put it beside the others. If you haven't done any sticky notes yet, write one tip for each skill on a single sticky. At least it's a start. Of course, you should make 3 more of this same note to place on your bathroom mirror, steering wheel, TV remote, or desk, so you have multiple reminders throughout the day. Number 5. As you read through the examples of love well, did anyone come to mind who had loved you well? Take a moment and send them a note, email, or text, or pick up the phone and say, thank you. Chapter 6, Possibilities and Potential and then there's a quote by Elizabeth Gilbert. To be fully seen by somebody, then and to be loved anyhow, this is a human offering that can border on miraculous. May feel that way too, huh? Maybe. Sometimes. Susie Albert Miller says, pause for a moment and think about the people in your life with whom you can really be yourself. Authentic, uncensored, messy, grubby clothes without makeup, struggling, transparent, doubtful, moments of discouragement, despair, anxiety, mania, your fears hanging out, and even your flaws and idiosyncrasies showing. Who has seen you at your worst and still knows you at your best? And who loves, enjoys, and accepts you either way? Whom do you trust with the real you? If you can count these people on one hand, you are blessed. I would wager that with each of them, you have used all 3 skills to create a great relationship that allows for authenticity without second guessing the relationship. You share a security in knowing you are seen, known, and loved, not just in spite of who you are, but because of who you are. However, most of our relationships fall along a spectrum of authenticity, intimacy, and connection. We have a myriad of relationships with different purposes, levels of involvement, and commitment. This is totally normal. We have spouses, kids, siblings, parents, friends, family, colleagues, partners, clients, and customers, to name a few categories. And in most of these categories, we have multiple relationships with different levels of connection. Some are going well, some are great, some are tension filled, difficult, or mediocre. No matter what, they all could get better. Regardless of where they fall on the spectrum, we can improve our personal and professional relationships using listen, learn, love. Now, let me see how far this one goes because we have some time to. Okay, so I'm going to read you quick results and long-lasting changes in the first part and the last part of it, and then next week we shall go through the entire section. Quick results and long-lasting changes. Warning number 1. Long-term and regular use of listen, learn well will result in authentic and rewarding relationships. The last part of that particular section is life is good when our relationships are thriving. Love, family, friends, and career are all in sync. Okay, so in this chapter, the next few sections are called quick results and long-lasting changes. And next week, we shall also go into the segment called Listen, Learn, Love at Work. And then we will go into relationship realities. There's a quote by John Maxwell in here. Succeed at home and all other relationships become easier. That's kind of a takeoff on, he doesn't know it necessarily, but it's a takeoff on Lao Tzu, peace in the home before peace in the neighborhood, before peace in the city, before peace in the nation, before peace between countries, before peace in the world. So, anyway, I will read you a quote that she has in this chapter as well. Theodore Roosevelt says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Quick results and long-lasting changes. Warning number 1. Long-term and regular use of listen, learn, love will result in authentic and rewarding relationships. Quick results come when you begin to use these skills in your relationships. Getting results in 30 days or less is a really big promise. It is one I am confident to make because I have seen fast results in my own life and in the lives of my clients. So we shall see more of this section next week. And we are going to pause it for today. Listen, Learn, Love, How to Dramatically Improve Your Relationships in 30 Days or Less by Susie Albert Miller. Now, I want you to get this book because it is a really good book. Keep investing in relationships. Cheers. Susie Albert Miller, SKS, SK 2024, written to Yin Yang. Isn't that great? Okay, so we shall see you tomorrow in the rest of the Saturday series and a Sunday series. So which way do I do it? Okay. Old Kinderhook. Thank you.